I cringe when I look back at some of the beliefs that came from my childhood, from the way I was raised, from the way I was educated. And some of these beliefs, I'm like, wow, I am so glad that I've got rid of them, that I've replaced them with something that is a bit more helpful. I think it's no secret that what we see when we grow up and when we are kids and our brain is still being formed impacts a lot who we are, who we become, and we get a lot of things put in our heads from the people around, from the society in general. Some of it can be in a good way if you have like great role models or people who have really strong values that you would resonate with as an adult. You probably got very lucky, but some of it can also be very unhelpful, or it can be like cliches that are being cascaded from generation to generation without anybody actually challenging that. Or maybe maybe you're the person in your life who is actually challenging that. You're the generational cycle breaker, and you're the one who is raising your hand and say, hey, not on my watch. And that can be maybe quite isolating. I know it has been the case for me, and I still believe it's really important to develop your own life philosophy and try to change some of this mindset or some of this belief that you might have inherited from childhood, because some of it really does not make sense. This doesn't make sense, and the way you want to treat people doesn't make sense in the way that they can help you, and that they might actually be limiting you without you realizing. And yeah, this is me today sharing some of the beliefs that I've actually outgrown and that I've actually reframed, that came from my childhood. And it's not in any way, a therapy session where I'm criticizing my family or my teachers or anything like this. It's more just celebrating that, as you grow older and you get the chance to change things, sometimes you realize that something really, really needed to change, and you've done the work, and you are now operating in the world in a different way, and you know that you can impact other people differently. For me, this is a real gift. And I'm sure you have stories like this too. I'm sure that you've also tried to bring different mindsets to the world, whether it's for your family or for the people you lead or for just like the way you treat strangers in the street. Um, Drop them in the comment, because I want to hear them, and maybe you feel lonely in the journey as well and you would like some cheerleading. I will be there for you. But yeah, I feel there are things that felt normal or felt like this is how the world works when I was younger, that I realized at a real cost when I was growing up. And now I have different ways to look at it. So one of the main ones that I got from childhood was that you had to be good at school. That was the way you were valuable. I don't know why school success was such an important thing for my parents. Obviously, they wanted me to succeed in life. That's perfectly normal. And same thing for the teachers. You get attention from the teachers if you are a good student. So I've always been a good student. I've always been very smart. I've always been in the top three of all my schools until at least master. I think in the master I was not in the top, but it's because I was in a school with all the top students from France. So I was obviously with stronger competition, but there was always like this, like, oh, you got good grades, you're first at school. Like I was even first at A level. I got the highest score for my entire how do you call it, high school. So this was celebrated. I got an award for it and stuff like this. So my parents were always very proud of this aspect of me, like this good girl who is doing good at school. That was something that was always celebrated. That was really more about result and achievement rather than who I was as a kid. And there was also some kind of predictability in the career I was going to choose. I remember my father saying, "Oh yeah, after high school, you're going to do what we call prep school in France, which is the way to get into engineering schools, which are the highest level and the most like elite type of university level degrees." And I remember him saying that, and I was like, okay, whatever. And then a few years later, when I was actually choosing what to do after high school, I realized I actually did exactly what he said I was going to do. Without He did not use the same wording, so it was a bit confusing. But I was like, yeah, it's actually the same, and I did good at that. And then like I went into the schools, and I feel it was kind of like a preset path in some way, that if you are good at school and you're like I was good at science in general. I was good at math, I was good at physics, I was good at chemistry. So there was some kind of like linear path that you were expected to follow in a way. And I realized later in life that this was not what I wanted to do at all. I've evolved from like science to doing more like project management, to doing more sales, to doing entrepreneurship, to doing coaching, to working social impact. Like I've had a trajectory of career that actually is way broader, and it's way like richer and using different facets of who I am as a person. And this is something that I really wished I was taught earlier in life. To think broadly, think about um, all possible careers way earlier, rather than, oh yeah, you're good at math, you need to be a scientist, like the typical typical thing you can think about. And also being challenged to not think just about, oh, you are good at this, but what else do you want to explore? What else could you be good at that you don't know yet because you've not tried? I would have really loved to have more of these kind of conversations around career, around developing skills, around trying to be more creative than just being good at math. And I feel this is something that's not from my mother, probably would not have come from her, because she comes from a very like specific background. She was a teacher at school, so there is like a very specific path, and you start when you're 20 and then you do this for the rest of your life. But my father was a business owner, so he has some more like entrepreneurship skills and ability to learn different things and learn to lead as well differently. So I think it was a bit of a missed opportunity, I think, there to have more of this broader mindset about what's possible, and really encouraging people to not just be one thing, or to not just be, oh, you're good at it, let's celebrate you for having good result or achievement in that, rather than actually encouraging you to actually, how do you feel about it? Do you feel enthusiastic? Do you like it? Like, just these simple questions could have triggered, I think, a different way of approaching choices in life in general, or like would have helped me be more confident in who I am as a person earlier in life. And yeah, that's something that I'm bringing with me right now. My new belief is like, I don't need to be good at something, and if I'm good at something, that doesn't mean this is the thing I should be doing. My first metric right now is, do I actually enjoy it? Do I feel a sense of engagement? Do I want to learn more about it? Is there more like like alignment, rather than, oh yeah, I can achieve? Because I know I can achieve. It's not really hard. If you really want to do something good, you can do. You just need to spend some time, learn it, try it, and then you will be reasonably good. But if you really want to have something in your life that makes you valuable, it's more about really finding your thing, finding your place, finding the best combinations of your skills, and really owning that, and not shying away from maybe being a generalist, or maybe being somebody who is changing career quite often because you are trying to figure out what it is. So yeah, this is a new belief, is I'm valuable as I am, and I have the right to go and figure out what I want. The second thing that really was, I would say, quite shocking looking back, and maybe it looked normal when I was younger. Not normal. It looked like maybe what was acceptable in terms of behavior, but I realize right now it's absolutely not correct at all. It's in my family, they used to make a lot of comments around health habits, around weight, around body, and around like nutrition and food in general. And it was like criticizing what somebody else was doing, other members of the family, like aunts and uncles and things like this, how they were cooking or not being great cooks. There was a lot of like criticism coming, particularly from the female side and grandmother, mother, around that, which was really not appropriate, first of all, because I believe, like, I now believe, and it's something that I grew out of it, is like, I believe that people should be allowed to do whatever they want in this area. Like, everybody has the right to have their own health habits. Everybody is responsible for their own well-being, and they can make different choices, and you never have the full picture about what's going on in somebody else's health. So rather than judging and criticizing them, just be yourself, do your own stuff for your own health, take care of yourself. This is the main important things. And if people have questions and they need your help to be inspired, or they want to try things that you've tried, then just be generous with that. But just like in general, making comments about how people cook, how they look, how fat they are, etc., was really not interesting. And it's particularly really like it was actually like how to say, ironic, because in my family we are actually not skinny people at all. We are actually people who are more on the obese side. I'm gonna say it, because I think if we just calculate the weight, I know when I was younger and I was more or less already the same height, but I was way heavier, and definitely it was more like the fat muscle ratio was very different than what it is right now, and I was not healthy. I was not somebody who had an active life as well, because like sport exercising was not a natural part of what we were doing as a family as well. Like it was more like, we eat, we sit in front of the TV, we just stay inside. Like there was no like real encouragement to take care of yourself. And even when I was like really, I would say really, really young, I was already not doing well, and you could see that. But there was no real encouragement around, eating differently or learning to eat, learning to really yeah, just manage that. And I feel it was like a lot of like jealousy between different people within my family. It's like, oh, because I'm not feeling good, therefore I'm going to criticize what you are doing that actually makes you look better than me. It was a bit more this type of habits. I remember having my uncle married my aunt, and my aunt was really like somebody actually skinny, but also skinny because she eats properly. She eats when she's hungry. She eats nutritious foods. She's like, she cooks healthy stuff. So she was naturally healthy, and my uncle was also healthy. But if you look at my mother, my aunt, that was the opposite of that. And there was some kind of like, I remember even my grandmother criticizing my aunt, saying, "Oh, but you're not eating enough," like just trying to force people to just like stuff themselves, and basically keeping each other fat. And it was like, now looking back, I'm like, there was a lot to unpack in there. There was a lot to unpack, and I feel it was yeah, as I was really mentioning, like people watching over people taking care of themselves, and not knowing how to take care of themselves. So they were just like jealous, and trying to bring other people down. And I feel this for me has created a lot of yeah, just I think a lot of like always like questioning around my weight, am I like dieting, and all these things that have been quite regular in my life. And I think they came from really this moment. And I've really outgrown that. Nowadays, I'm just like, I'm going to mind my own business. I'm going to educate myself about what is healthy for me. I'm going to put this in practice. I'm going to feel good about myself. And if that, if, as I was saying earlier, if there are people that were inspired by that, they want to just get there themselves, I can help them, whether it's with the mindset or, like share with them something that I've learned. But people who are still criticizing my health habits, people who are just judging because they didn't find a way to do it themselves. For me, these are a sign of people who are not really mature yet in their own self-care, in their own well-being, and not really taking ownership for that. And that's the type of people that I can't stay around. Unfortunately, it's a no to be in my life. But yes, I wish I was raised with more, not necessarily like body positivity, but just like learning how to eat when you're hungry, or learning to just find things that you enjoy doing for exercises, like having a little bit more conversation about, yeah, figuring out your own health. Obviously if they did not know how to do it themselves, it was hard for them to teach me and to be role models in there. So I'm not I'm not, yeah, not having regrets there, but I feel this is really something that I wish more people were doing differently in general. So yeah, keeping it out of my life, and making sure that nobody is doing this to me again. Another big area where I had to learn a lot on my own, because the beliefs I got from childhood were not either not present or not great, is around money. Money in general was never really discussed in the family. Like we never had like pocket money that we can learn how to use, or learn how to spend and how to save money. We never had something like this. I don't think that they teach anything around finances at school anyway. So, money was kind of like this thing for grown-ups that I'm not allowed to touch because I'm a kid, something like this. And there was also a lot of, how to say that, unhealthy use of money. Like every time there was a conversation around money, was more like as a guilt mechanism, as, oh, you are my kid, but now you're spending my money. I know I'm buying stuff for you, so you have to be a little bit more, yeah, kind of like grateful, or like the relationship is created through money with the kid, rather than a proper relationship that is based on, I don't know, what else can be a relationship based on, like just appreciating the person, or just yeah, just like a normal, yeah, it's normal that I'm your parents, you're a kid, I have to pay for you. That's perfectly normal thing. So there was a lot of like, yeah, I would say guilting around the money, or like some sense of maybe stress for them that was projected into trying to make us understand that they were spending it. But because we never really have the chance to actually learn about anything, we never have a chance to just practice what it is to have a little bit of money, and spend it and choose what you want to spend it on, or learn how to save. I think it did not really land well. And I realized that when I was running my own business, a few years ago because I had to start thinking strategically about finances. I used to be somebody who was still like not spending much, but saving a lot of saving money. I was good at it. I managed to get quite a lot. But when I was running the business and I had to make different decisions, I had to choose how I invest the money. Do I invest it in a coaching certification? Do I invest it in having somebody helping me for different parts of the business? Like I had to make a lot of decisions around money, and there was a lot of like stress or like emotionally loaded times and decisions to be made. And same thing when later on I had a bit of like financial issues because the business wasn't working, and I had to make how to say choices to survive, like just how do you say, like food choices, like just having enough money to be able to pay the rent and have food for the month. And this is like scarcity levels that I also never experienced when I was younger. Thank God. I'm not complaining about this. But I feel like my relationship with money was really, really different than what it is right now. And yeah, I think it was also, yeah, just I remember an experience, for instance, the first time I had an internship where I was paid, I decided to on some holidays with the money that I had earned as a student, but it's this money that I had earned, and that was the first time I had money, and that was the first time I decided to spend it. And I remember how criticized I was by my mother because I went on holidays and I spent money that she believed that I should have paid back to her. So there was a lot of like, as I was saying, like, a lot of guilt, a lot of like kind of dependency created through money. So for me, that was also like when I was reflecting about it through the business afterward, it's like I wanted to have a different relationship with money in the sense that I don't want to be dependent from money. I want money to be a tool and nothing else. It should not mean anything to me. It should not be assigned to my identity or anything. It's not something that I can use to manipulate people or whatever. It's a tool to just have a quality life. And I feel this this is one where I still notice sometimes how I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, okay, at least I'm not thinking about it as something that I don't know. I've done enough work now to be educated about it. I'm not using it as something to manipulate people or to feel that I'm being manipulated by people. But yeah, I'm sure there is still more work to be done there. So this is one belief that is still developing itself, but hopefully, I can think about it in a way that is healthier than what it used to be. And that brings me to my last mindset that also comes in relationship with the money, and what I was mentioning about creating a relationship of dependence with money, is that when I was younger, you had to be grateful. That was the kind of toxic expectation. I'm going to call it toxic. That's because you were being given things as from parents to kids, then you had to be automatically grateful, and therefore you had to be obedient, and you had to do the things that they wanted. This is something that I've always found very, very, very hard to swallow. I remember having a conversation with another of my aunts, and I was saying like, I'm just a kid. I never has to be put alive. So why on earth do I need to be all the time saying thank you? It might seem like a bit selfish when I say it out loud, but for me as a kid, it's like okay, I've not chosen to be there. You choose to be there. There is a responsibility that costs something that's on you, but there is also not just that the cost. It's just like the expectation that you have to be grateful. And I feel this was a little bit like expectation that we're projecting without being really clarified from their side of what they needed. From their own emotional side, they had some needs, which I can understand, but the way it was projected on the kid was a bit not healthy. And I never really felt, because of that, I never really felt that I was a proper human being. Like I never felt value for who I was as just an existing kid and an existing human being. It was more like you kind of like you belong to me, and therefore you kind of owe me gratitude. And I feel for me that's something that I've found as very toxic in a relationship, and that's something that thinking about friendships or thinking about intimate relationships that I never want to carry with me. I ran into Tony Robbins a few years ago, and he was saying like replace your expectations by appreciation, and your relationship will change in an instant. And what he means by that is that a lot of us as human beings, we just carry expectations for other people. We just expect people to meet our needs. We expect people to make us feel good. We expect people to tell us specific things. We expect people to know what we need without having to share it. There are so many expectations that our brain is creating for other human beings, and that's actually what is creating the misery, is that we all walk around with all these expectations we project. But when do we really actually appreciate the person? When do we actually take the time to think, hey, actually, you know what? I don't need anything from that person. I don't expect anything from that person. I'm just grateful that in this specific moment they are in my life. And this is something that I've really like ingrained in my brain. It's hard because sometimes the brain naturally will do the opposite. Naturally, the brain is going to create expectations without you even realizing. But as much as possible, I try to really ask myself, am I expecting something there? Or if I feel that I'm being disappointed in a relationship, I'm like, oh, there was an expectation. Let me just look back at what I was expecting. And okay, did I actually communicate that? Is it something that the person could actually provide? Is it actually their job to provide this, or is it up to me to go and find solutions for that? I feel I've really like ingrained this, and yeah, being in an environment where I don't feel like I have to really like people expect something from me. This is really a different place. Earlier this year, well, last year, I was in a program with 20 people and a core team who was leading this program. And I had a very tough experience, even creating trauma, because a lot of this experience, there was a lot of expectations put on me in a way that was, I was supposed to comply. I was supposed to be a people pleaser for others. I was supposed to share everything about myself without having created the right relationship. There was a lot of expectations being projected on me, and that made me so miserable. So for me, this is really like a shift I made. It's like, I don't want to be obedient or grateful in situations where I'm not. I don't want to be the one carrying the weight of expectations from every single person around me. And I don't want to be going around in my life projecting expectations on other people where I could be appreciative. And that's a very different mindset to live by, to live from appreciation and to really look for the places where you can be yourself and you can be appreciated as a human being is a constant, I would say, a constant quest. So if you know places like this, please let me know, because I'm really looking for more or more people who think like this as well. So yeah, as I was saying, these are beliefs that I decided to challenge at some point of my life. And I realized there was a smarter game to play, or a better way to live life that would actually free me, but also have a better impact on other people around me. And yeah, I'm curious to know if there are beliefs that you've also outgrown, things from your childhood, or like from school, or anything that you can say, okay, yeah, when I was younger, I really thought this was actually the way things are done, or this is what was put in my brain repeatedly through the way people behave or talk to me. And now you're like, okay, thank God I raised above. Thank God I learned. Thank God I'm coming to the world with a different mindset. I would really love to hear and read that in the comments. And if you don't know me, my name is Chloe, and I'm doing an 80-day challenge where I review every single day things that I've learned for myself over the last 20 years, things that I have unlearned as well, like some of these beliefs, and things that I want to keep me with me moving forward. As I turned 40 in 23 days now, we are almost there. So yeah, if you want to follow the daily videos and the daily journey, you can sign up down below, and I see you tomorrow for another video.